Hey guys, so last night I got into a bit of a YouTube spiral thread um, where I started watching a lot of different YouTube content, that I've never really watched before. Uh, this whole YouTube world, in a lot of ways, is somewhat new to me. I certainly have been watching YouTube since I was in college and watching like certain YouTube videos, a lot of like sports highlights, um, more of like the entertainment videos. I never really got into the self help finance, area of YouTube. But I went into a little bit of a spiraled into a little bit of a net of it last night, and 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 I got there because I was listening to people like GaryVee, because I thought it would be important for me to listen to GaryVee and those types of guys because they're actually they have very very big channels. They have a lot of people following them. GaryVee is in charge of his company is called VaynerMedia. Um, and he really is very passionate about sports cards and really enjoys them and has been talking them up as really good investments for a few years now. Actually, he's really been pushing them as great investment vehicles as they're going to hit, as there's so much opportunity and money. And recently he's actually been talking more about Pokemon, and he reaches a lot of people, and I've actually been seeing more and more people from the sports card world come to Pokemon world, and I wonder how many of those people have been sent to us, by someone like Gary Vee, or by those other sorts of people. Because I think it's a natural move, particularly for those who are around my age and grew up with Pokemon, and now that Pokemon's becoming more, it's very far from being established as a investable collectible, but that it's a lot more money. People are making a lot of money. There's a lot more hype. There's a lot more eyes. There's a lot more attention around Pokemon. I think it's very natural that people who are really into sports cards, because sports cards was more established and loved opening packs, loved that gambling element, because opening packs is taking a gamble when you're doing it for money, right? And gambling can be fun. And so they like that gambling element of trying to pick that, that rare card, or, in modern sports, they're trying to get that, one of one logo man, rookie signed autograph patch, or whatever it is right now. And they're listening to these people, and I think that they're coming over. And so today I want to talk about my feelings on watching those videos, on watching those different types of channels, on watching all these like self-help finance channels, and then how it relates to our sort of small Pokemon world, and I think so. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing on this channel, or where this channel is coming from. I really started this channel because I wanted to help people have a good time, spend as wisely as they can, and like build their collections and enjoy what they're doing, and if they're interested in flipping, or they're interested in those sorts of things, maybe give some cautionary advice to not be too risky, to take your time, that you certainly can make money that way, but you really have to research, be heavily engaged, and there's just a huge amount of luck factor. Even like if you are the biggest expert in Pokemon, you're so engaged with it every day, like flipping Pokemon cards is still very risky. In the long run, flipping anything, day trading in stocks, very risky. Um, so so um, so where do I want to start? So I guess, starting talking about like Gary Vee and some of the energy the sort of very intense manic energy that he has, and this hustle culture, and this culture of like, pull yourself out of your depression, out of your anxiety, out of your shame by working extremely hard and working after your dreams and after your goals and after your passions, which I think is sort of his message. Is you will find bliss and happiness through very hard work, towards what you love and in what you love. And I think that clearly that can be very true for people, you know, that people who find something that they really enjoy, right, and then work very hard at it, you know, not because necessarily just the end goal of becoming rich or successful or famous, but because they actually enjoy the intrinsic value of doing that work. That is often people can experience a lot of meaning and satisfaction is probably the best word for that, you know, from working that hard at something they like, and then from seeing results over time. And I think for most people it's usually both. It's, you know, it's they want to enjoy the intrinsic sort of day-to-day of what they're doing in their life, but they also want to reach some goals and see some results from that work. And the combination of those two things are exciting. I think that the issue that I have with GaryVee and his message and that sort of hustle culture is the cult-like intensity and ego and manipulation that I see going on. And you know, and mixed in with like excellent advice and generally very like common sense advice that I don't think needs to be yelled at you necessarily or sweared at you in Gary Vee's style. Now, there are a lot of people who have that sort of style of talking to people, and I think that you could make an argument that there's some merit to that style, because that style of talking to kind of wakes you up, it kind of gets you going, it fires you up. And, you know, psychologically, I think that could be positive for certain people in certain circumstances, because it gets them going towards their dream, maybe lowers their fear and anxiety. But for other people, it's going to have a very negative, shaming effect. And so the problem with these sorts of messages, these one-size-fit-all messages, is that, you know, for every person that it sort of inspires, it also like critically shames and wounds, you know, another person. Okay. And then for a lot of people, it's somewhere in the middle. It's sort of like, yeah, that's like fine advice, but it doesn't like really, it doesn't teach me anything I didn't know or think of already. It doesn't revolutionize anything for me, but it also doesn't, you know, deeply shame me or criticize me. But a lot of like very like vulnerable people and people who don't have necessarily their own way of being happy and being content in this life and haven't figured that out, which is a very difficult thing to figure out and is a constant sort of process throughout your life, is figuring out what makes me sort of happy or content or brings me meaning in this stage of my life. They're attracted to these types of people for very understandable reasons. They're attracted because they're seeking answers. And these guys have very loud, confident voices of like, you're feeling bad? Well, here's an answer that will work for you, that will work for anybody. And you just have to listen to me and work hard and you'll be successful. And, you know, and I think if you listen to these guys very carefully, like a lot of that can be very positive. So the negative side of all of that, and I'm going to get into how this all relates to Pokemon, because it really does right now. And I'm going to talk about specifically in the Pokemon world how I see this stuff starting to happen a little bit more. And my goal for this channel, you know, I think is going to be to try to help buyers really, and help people and sellers, but to help people who want to collect and want to enjoy the hobby in a way that they don't get addicted, and in a financially stable way, to help them become like the wisest possible, you know, consumer, you know, as I possibly can, so that they can enjoy it. And so that's why I think this is important. But so with these ideas here, like, the danger is how much value. A few things. One, how much value is this person actually giving you? Okay. Versus how much value do you just wish that they were giving at you, and do you want them to give you? So it feels very good, and it releases a lot of dopamine in your head, in your brain, which makes you feel good when you feel like someone says something to you that really clicks for you and really unlocks something for you that maybe no one else has, or says it in a way that really connects with you, and you feel like you have this epiphany moment. And that experience can be very strong, and it can create a bond with that person where these people start to develop these kind of cult-like followings because people are addicted to them. So their message might be pretty good. their logic might be pretty good, but because they are the ones who told you that message and explained that to you, even though many people are saying that exact same thing in the world, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's better, sometimes they're more charismatic, sometimes they're less charismatic, but the danger is that because that person has released that dopamine for you, you're in your memory, you now associate that person with like wisdom and with like intelligence and is better than everyone else. And so the danger of that is you people develop these cult-like followings where people are now, the people following the person are no longer a good judge of like how useful is the information, how much is the information actually helping me, how much is it hurting me. They're not good self-assessors because they're so addicted to the person's product, to the person's way of speaking, to the idea that that person is always right, to the idea that they're part of that person's family, that they're part of that person, that they're friends with that person cares about them. And, GaryVee and the danger of a lot of these people is they talk about how humble they are, how much they love you, how much they care about you, how connected they are to you. And are they really in love with you? Are they really connected to you as an individual? Do they know you? Or are they addicted to being a cult leader? Are they addicted to being the person who everyone listens to being the person who everyone respects, to being the person who, they love that feeling of knowledge, that feeling of power, that feeling of being a teacher? Because being a teacher, and as a therapist, like I can tell you, like it's very addicting being the powerful one in the room and having the answers. And I'm going to take these unhealthy people and I'm going to give them the answers. And so it's very understanding all of that is very important to as a teacher, to be a good teacher and to be actually humble, which is like don't like being more self-aware about how grandiose you're being and how much you really don't know everything, and how your message is going to help some people but not help other people. And the danger of GaryVee and people like GaryVee, I know I'm picking on GaryVee a lot, but like there's a ton of people like this, okay, is that they're master marketers, and they combine these like feel-good positive messages to marketing. And marketing is a very potentially unethical business. It's very fraught with ethical issues. And I'm going to talk a lot more about marketing, I think, on this channel, and marketing in Pokemon, because there are a lot of like problematic things where it's very hard to determine like is this ethical or not, and where's that line. And often it's ethics often is very gray, and it's not very clear what is the right or wrong thing. Okay, but so the issue, right, is that it creates that cult-like following, that intensity, that people who need them to be right all the time. Then they get addicted to their products, right? They get addicted to their talks. They get addicted to, and then you get, you hear about these upselling, right? So, and I don't know to what extent GaryVee does this, or, but I know there are a lot of like financial YouTubers, right, who do this, where you become addicted to their product, their personality. You believe that they're going to save you from everything. And they do that, like some are much more unethical than others. Like some are everything is really tailored to manipulate you to buy their thing, to do their thing. Others, it's a little bit like, it's not as overt, but like it's still happening, and they're drinking the Kool-Aid because they're making a lot of money and they're having a lot of fun being your teacher. All right. And often they're very insecure, and very insecure people like to teach often, and like to be therapists often, like to be, explain things often, because they're desperately searching for answers too, right? And, and when I get too high and mighty on my high horse, and when I think I know things too much, it's actually generally a good sign that I'm feeling very insecure about my own knowledge, my own place in the world. And so having that sort of self-assessment, which these people are really missing. And part of it is because there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of incentive for them to keep doing what they're doing because it's working extremely well and they're making a ton of money, okay? The dark side of all that is, where's that money coming from? That money is coming from people who are not feeling good, who are feeling unhappy, And some of them may benefit from Gary Vee's advice. Some of them are certainly going to benefit from Gary Vee's advice. And Gary Vee has a lot of great advice. And a lot of these people have a lot of great advice, okay, generally in life. A lot of people have very good advice. Like listening to people's arguments and listening to what they say is excellent in general, and we should all communicate. The issue is when there's too much ego involved, either in the person who's giving the message or the listener getting too much of that dopamine release and being a little bit young and not realizing how much value they're actually getting from that person. And so when you look at your life, it's like, since you've been listening to Gary Vee for a few years, it's like, how much better is your life? Like, actually, right? When you've been listening to this person, when you've been listening to that person, like, in what ways is it better? In what ways is it not better? In what ways has it gotten worse? In what ways has it gotten more difficult? And where have you gotten more insecure? Where have you gotten, and then how much money and time have you put into that person? Have you put into that product? Because the reality is, like, you might be happier, you might have gotten a decent amount of value, but did you get $26,000 of value, $30,000 of value? A lot of that you could have just like found free by reading a book in the library, like a lot of these people's messages. And so it becomes more about the cult of personality and the cult of being part of the family and the group that gets really scary. Okay, so let's turn to Pokemon for a little bit from that. And I talk a lot about Gary Vee because Gary Vee is now talking about Pokemon, and I worry we're going to get some Gary Vee, some of these like hustle flippers, work hard, be intense, be overly positive, overly optimistic. Everything is always going up. To every like negative thing Gary Vee says, he says like 100 positive things or whatever, probably. Like to every negative, like this might go down, we might be in a bubble, there's a lot more like, but there's so much money to make, and there's this and there's that and there's and that energy, regardless of the quality of the content of what he's saying, his energy makes you want to buy, makes you want to gamble. He talks about how fun gambling is, how fun being addicted is, how fun that is. And so I'm afraid people are getting addicted to Pokemon right now. People are addicted to sports cards and Pokemon in general, and that is causing them to make like not good financial decisions. And Pokemon is very addicting. Buying is very addicting. And all of this stuff takes a lot of like really solid self-assessment. And again, it's usually not a one or black or white. Gary Vee is not awful. He's a human, right? Like, he has a lot of great things to say. He has a lot of interesting things to say. There's a problem in our culture where we are demonizing individuals. We either put them on a pedestal like they're geniuses and above everyone else, or we demonize them and put them far too low. The correct response when you're listening, and that's what creates these cult figures, because you have people pedestaling these people as like genius. Somehow they've thousands and thousands of years of human history where we've always struggled for consistent happiness. And we've had a number of people come up and claim that they have the answers to everything. It's like this repeats itself throughout history. We have these figures who come out, I have the solution to everything, and then people follow on to them, right? There's middle grounds, and there's positive things you can take from self-help culture without losing yourself in it, and without spending way more money than you need to or way more time than you need to, and without like getting so into it that you're not living your own life and you're not figuring out how you really feel about things, and you're listening too much to other people and other ways of thinking. And there's so many ideas out there. Or you're getting too narrow in your thinking or your approach. Part of why I talk about this confirmation bias in one of my like Pokemon error videos is that confirmation bias is so dangerous, because you start to do something that a self-help person tells you, it starts to work, you start to feel better, because often these things are very powerful. But part of why you're feeling better is because you think you have the answer, and you project that into the future where you're always going to have the answer. That's always going to be great, right? And then what happens inevitably is like it starts to wear off a little bit. The dopamine high starts to wear off a little bit. It starts to become more challenging. Maybe you're not passionate every single day of your life about anything that you do. And this relentless sort of follow your passion, follow your desire doesn't work in all situations and all moments of your life. But instead of questioning it and maybe looking at other people and what other people are saying, and other people who are saying very different things, you go back to your source and you have to go harder at it. You tell yourself, no, I should read more books about the person. I need to get the higher course. I need to work harder. And these people, particularly the really sinister ones, tell you it's your fault if you're not succeeding. You're not working hard enough. That's why you're not succeeding. You're not passionate enough. There's something wrong with you. When in reality, like, there's something wrong with all of us, of course, but everyone has their own something wrong with. And to answer that takes years of therapy, and in that you still don't get a full answer. You just kind of make some progress, or you get some other perspectives, and hopefully that helps you, become a little bit like wiser and more self-aware about who you are and what people are doing and what's going on around you. Okay. So let's talk. We're 20 minutes in. Let's talk more about Pokemon and how this relates to the Pokemon world. But I think all of that's really important when you're thinking about investing in Pokemon, and here's why. Or when you're thinking about spending time watching like YouTube, like a YouTuber like me, like a financial YouTuber, whatever that means. I don't consider myself a financial expert or a financial YouTuber. It's like, I would say I'm like a fairly, like, I guess, Pokemon-ish expert. And I know I've referred to myself, and I should probably be more careful about that, because what does that really mean? I spent 3 years of my life, spending a few hours a day, at least, and off and on throughout the day, tracking every Pokemon price that I could and reading Bulbapedia and looking at the price history. So it's like, I tried to get all the information I could that was out there, and I tried to make sense of it and look at the patterns and got very intense about it and treated it like a game that I was trying to like figure out how it worked. And so if that makes me, a fairly expert, or someone who has a lot of experience, like that's great. But being a Pokemon expert does not mean I can predict future prices. In any, other than give you guys what I think are good arguments, give you guys both sides, and then hopefully you making sense of those and making your own assessment. All of this is like gambling. Investing is like a gambling. There's gambling element and is risk. Okay, so let's keep it straight about what being a Pokemon expert really means, because like anyone can become a Pokemon expert in the sense of like you just have to be like super engaged, if we mean that by Pokemon expert. Now, I haven't worked for the Pokemon company. I don't know the ins and outs of their operations. I don't have like deep relationships within like the Pokemon, Japanese world like some other people might have in the hobby, although I think it's pretty insular community from what I've heard. Those people would have a lot more insight into a lot of things than I would be able to provide. Okay, so my goal, maybe things I have to add is I'm a therapist. I'm interested in psychology. I was a psychology and philosophy, double major in undergrad, so I'm interested in these sorts of things, and I've thought a lot about these sorts of things. So maybe I can provide some, added benefit to analyzing, and breaking down the psychological patterns of the market and what's going on. And at very least, I hope that content is like interesting and makes you think. I don't listen to me, okay, too much. And that's really part of why I'm making this video. Like, listen to me the right amount, which is consider my arguments, use your own lived experiences to figure out what's right, okay? And that is a good way of generally operating. So Pokemon. Come on, Jake, stay focused here. So anyone who starts a YouTube channel in Pokemon, anyone who starts a business in Pokemon, right? Their goals are very likely something like they want to have their own business. They're an entrepreneur, right? These are people who really want to make their YouTube channel or their business a full-time job, right? So let's understand where they're very likely coming from, right? They want to work for themselves. They want to probably be successful. They want to grow a following. They care very much about each one of you out there watching their videos. They need you to watch their videos. They need you to buy their products. They need you or their business crumbles and what they're trying to do fails, okay? So because they need you, there's a risk that they are going to do unethical things to manipulate you, to give them your attention, to give them your money, okay? So that's just facts. Like, they're not necessarily doing that, right? And this is where we have to I want to help you guys think very critically for yourself. It's like, what is this YouTuber doing? What is this business doing? What is this individual doing? And it's very difficult to know right through a screen, because you don't really know these people in real life. You don't really know the way they tick, their general ethics and character. But let's keep that clear. So me starting this channel, I did not start with those feelings. I thought it, I like, well, that's not true. I was hoping that maybe like there'd be a small chance that this would grow into a really big thing, because I'd love to eventually make money off this channel, and get a little bit of like financial freedom, more financial freedom with that money. And if I ever didn't want to do therapy anymore, or wanted to do less therapy, I could like do more of this. Maybe I could do a Patreon, do like consulting fees. Maybe I could do what else could I do? Maybe I could do like do consulting for other people, marketing, use my psychology, use my understanding to like, develop my own business so that I have more financial freedom, and don't, if I don't want to be a therapist forever, I could transition into this. I love Pokemon so much. Pokemon makes me so happy, and like opening a brick and mortar store, like doing what Rudy from Alpha Investments has done, is like very, like that idea seems very appealing to me. Okay. So it would be a lie to say that I started this channel with no, thinking like that wouldn't be something maybe I would like to do. But I thought it was like pretty outlandish when I first started, and really genuinely I was starting it because like I was really bored. I didn't have a lot to do. Coronavirus is happening right now. I'm working a bit less right now than I was before due to coronavirus. And so I thought that this would be a good time to try this and to communicate more with people. And I was seeing, as I've said on this channel before, I was seeing like what I thought is like really unethical behavior in some channels, in some spaces online around Pokemon. And I wanted to call it out, frankly, and I wanted to, and I just felt like there was a lot of need for like more of this like straight talk, psychology, giving you like really what I think, not holding things back, like that sort of channel, because I felt like all of the channels that were really successful were very curated and very like not very authentic and honest, and that people were watching some of these things. The best ones are just kind of like, they're very formulaic, but they're not very deceitful, and they provide like a like the big box opening channels, right? These are my opinions on them. I really I admire, to build those channels, those people had to do a lot of hard work. Those people are smart. Those people are savvy marketers. Those people are I would imagine they all really love Pokemon and actually really care about the community, okay? So again, going to that, let's not demonize people, let's not pedestal people, let's also not demonize people. But at the same time, those people rely on your watching them. When they say things like, we have a family here, you're part of our group, you're part of this, you're part of that, like, do they really feel like you're a family member? Do you feel like you're a family member? Like, that type of language makes me personally uncomfortable, because it feels very manipulative, and that feels a little culty. And I'm just gonna be honest with you guys, and like, please disagree with me in the comments. And a lot of like, Pokemon, these are things that like the big YouTube channels use. There's nothing really big in Pokemon, right? Pokemon is a small niche, but that tactic of like, you're part of blank and blank, like you're part of the Pokenomics family here, we love you like family. That type of tactic to me feels, it's marketing, right? And maybe I should be a little less harsh, and I should say, it's a marketing tactic employed to make you feel like they really care about you, and they might really care about you, but do they really care about you because they know you, because they have an intimate relationship with you, or because they're dependent on you to have what they want, which is like financial freedom, okay? And the people behind these cameras are not positive, fully positive. No one, everyone who comes smiling and is super positive and says like everything is great and all these things, like no one's like that in real life. No one is actually super positive all the time. People have a lot of like self-doubt and negative criticisms and anxiety and insecurity. And I worry when they're that super hype positive, always like, that first of all, they're giving kids and they're giving people the wrong message, which is that like, you should be happy and positive all the time and hustle and tell people that they're family when you don't feel like they're family. Like, I worry about all of that, just me personally. I don't feel like it's very authentic and doesn't teach people like how to actually be intimate in real life. And I think that's a big problem with online culture is like, in order to really create intimacy with people, you have to be very vulnerable. You want them to know your anxieties, your fears, what scares you. That is actually creates them really knowing who you are. You creating sort of like a false facade of like, you know, everything's great, like I'm super positive all the time, like let's kill life, let's hustle, let's do that, all that stuff. Like that is a part of probably who they are genuinely, but only the part that they're showing you. And the question is, why are they showing you that part? And my concern is that some of them are going to be showing you that part because they think that is what is going to get followers. That's what's going to get you hooked. That's what's going to get you connected. That's what's going to release that dopamine in your brain that makes you feel like part of the family, and then you're going to keep coming back. Okay, so your channels like Unlisted Leaf, like Leonhardt, like Real Breaking Nate, like all those channels, like they definitely use those tactics, some more than others, but those channels are like not really bad at all. Okay, those channels are box opening channels. Like some of them do, I think, things a little, like they do hype certain cards, and I think that they don't do a really good, they don't do a good enough job of acknowledging to their audience and acknowledging to the community that they affect card prices, and I don't like that, and I'll just be honest with you. But at the same time, I really, as I said before, I really admire what they've accomplished, which is build these huge communities, and every Pokemon enthusiast owes them a great debt of gratitude for helping to build the Pokemon community. Now, were they building the Pokemon community because they wanted to build it for all of us, or did they want to build it for themselves? Likely some of both, right? And I am not a perfect person. Like, I'm the same way, okay? But I want everyone who's consuming those channels, and particularly kids or younger people watching, like, I hope you understand that. And you're seeking, like, real friends, like, real intimate partnerships and relationships in your life. Like, Leonhardt and Real Breaking Nate and Unlisted Leaf are not your friend. Like they're not, you don't have a relationship with them. If they might read the comments and they might comment on something to keep you like engaged in the channel, but it's just the reality. Like, and I know that that's like very harsh and potentially very critical, and I might receive a lot of like criticism and backlash from it, but I'm just gonna keep like speaking the truth, and worst case scenario, it implodes my channel, and then, you know, I'm fine, you know, because at the end of the day, like for me, like, if this channel grows, as I said before, like I have my own ambitions, right? Like I'd like this channel to grow. It'd be really cool to make money off this channel. I am only comfortable to make money off this channel if I feel like I'm providing a service that is healthy to people and that is honest and that is authentic, because that's just how I'm wired. And so if I can make money off of being like very authentic in myself and feel like I'm not making too much money off of you or not charging you too much, you know, like some of these other people, who might give you value, but then charge you $2,500 to come to, you know, a seminar. Like if I were to do consulting right now, like I don't think I should do consulting for you guys. Like what the hell do I know? You know, I'm sharing everything I know in this video, yeah, pretty much. And to consult with you, like it feels like people are searching for that answers. And, you know, would I feel comfortable maybe charging you guys like $5 to $10 for like a consulting? Like maybe, because that's so little. And perhaps I would be able to like give you enough value in that conversation that it'd be worth that. But, you know, okay, going off on a tangent there. And this is just the way I think, you know, it's giving you the pure thing. All right. Last thing I want to talk about in this video before we end, you know, is and transitioning from like those guys, like Enlisted Leaf, like those guys, like I really like them. I actually think that generally, like they seem like very good people. Like I think all of those people are very good people, and I want to state that very clearly. I just think that they're in a business that requires, in order to build things, in order to make money and sustain yourself, you need to do a fair amount of marketing and branding. And I worry that people, rather than just like enjoying their channel, because I like their channels, I watch their channels, and I enjoy their channels, they're actually being sucked in by that message, and that is causing them psychological harm. And I think that it's all about balance, right? Like the positives that they're doing for the community is they've helped build the Pokemon community. They've made it what it is. They've gotten lots of eyes. They've gotten lots of interest. They've made it cooler to collect Pokemon again. They made it like less nerdy, more acceptable to see adults doing it, right? And all of that's like great for our hobby because we enjoy doing this. We want to do this, okay? But the negatives I've said already, and that's the danger of trying for every YouTuber to find their balance. And feel free to call me out too in the comments of ways that I'm not finding my balance and the ways that I can improve to find that like healthy balance where I'm actually being helpful to people. All right, so marketing. Okay, so when you're thinking about like why are these channels started, what is their business strategy? Okay, the box openings business strategy is to get as many views as possible and to get you to buy merch. Okay, so that's what they're gonna do. They're going to get you to buy merch. They're going to get you to watch their videos, all right? Resellers, businesses, their business strategy is to get you to buy their product. To watch their videos is one source of income, but the largest source for a lot of them, because they're smaller channels, is creating a trusted name, and then you will buy product from them, okay? So you have to be aware that is what they are attempting to do and market to you. You need to be a careful judge of like, is that actually happening? Okay? All of the people I've had on this channel, for example, like I really like and are pretty like, in my opinion, like legends within the community and are doing these things in sort of like ethical ways. And there are plenty of people who I haven't had on my channel that I think are the same way. And where that line is between being a salesman and being a manipulator is what I want to try to educate people on, and the discussion that I think we need to have. And everyone's going to have their own opinion, right, about where that line is. Okay, so because those channels we want you to watch, they're going to use clickbait. They're going to use hype. They're going to talk about, top 10 best Pokemon cards ever. Pokemon cards have gone up 1,000%. They're amazing. Here's $100,000. Here's $1 million of Pokemon cards. And what that does is it triggers the dopamine receptors in people's brains, and it triggers that addiction to Pokemon. It makes you want to go buy and create that collection. It makes you feel ashamed maybe of your small collection. Oh my God, I want that Charizard. All the Instagram posts, right? Like, I just got a PSA 10 gym challenge. I have 30 Hidden Fate sealed bot. Like, all that stuff, it creates that feeling of like, I don't have that. I need that. I want that. It's that consumer materialistic culture. It's very dangerous, okay? And I worry like how much of that, talking about the financial and investment piece, how much of that is driving up the market and how sustainable is that in the long run? Because that isn't genuine collector interest. That isn't wanting to own the cards. That is the addiction of the gamble and of making money and of trying to complete the collection and of having something cool that you can show off. And opinions and feelings can change over time on those sorts of things. And that could really cause prices to go down. All right. So another thing you're going to see people do is like call themselves experts, right? Or be an expert, or, and I've done that a little bit on this channel, right? In my first videos, I wrote underneath my thing, like, I'm one of the top collectors in the world, which I think is objectively true, so I felt okay saying it. But I put that there so that people would actually listen to me, because why would you just listen to some random guy online unless he has one of like the largest PSA collections in the world? Okay, so that's an example of like where they are telling you objective truth to try to get you to watch. The problem is they might also be telling you things that aren't true. They might be exaggerating what they own. They might be exaggerating what they have. They might be showing you the best of the best, and saying things that makes it seem like they have a lot more of a collection, but in reality they're selling that collection off for profit, whatever they're doing. So just like having that understanding. And that because they're the expert, they have the answer, right? There's so many people going on these streams like asking like, someone like PokeRev, who is great, okay? I from what I can tell, like super nice, like down to earth, like genuine guy. Like, yes, he does clickbait, yes, he does hype, like as a lot of people do, right? And they're trying to build a channel and get a business, and like I get it. Like that's how these things run. Like if you don't do that, if you don't compete, how are you going to survive and be successful? But I've watched some of his live streams, and he gives generally a pretty accurate, I think, numbers and ideas. Sometimes maybe a little inflated, but I think he owns a ton of Pokemon, and he understands the business, and he's dealt with it, and he's also buying a lot, and I think he's a genuine collector who wants things for himself. okay? So like his stream and his finance stream, I was just watching one today, like it's pretty good, but like people are overly, I'm concerned with how many people are like, what should I invest in? Like, what's the best investment? Like, what should we buy? What should we do? What should we, it's, that to me is like this culty feeling of like, he doesn't know. Like, we're all guessing. Like, you basically probably, if you're very engaged and you understand the market, like know as much as him. And that type of hype and the power that he holds, if he can say, and he's a small channel, just 27,000, and he can say, the power that he holds, where he could just say like this, like he said today, certain boxes he thinks are undervalued and are going to go up, and it's like, well, now, like if he doesn't disclaimer that with like, I don't really know, and like, here are the risks of doing that, and this is why and giving like he does a good job of like giving really detailed explanations of why he believes his opinions, and that's really great. But if I would hope that he and other people like become very conservative and very careful and realize like these are kids, like these are teenagers and kids watching these channels, trying to get rich, trying to flip Pokemon cards, and they're extremely susceptible to all sorts of like manipulations and schemes, okay? Now the worst person, and the real person I've been trying to talk about in all of these videos, I have not mentioned, I'm not going to mention them by names, but because, all these other people I really respect and admire and really like, and right, so all of the guys in this channel I really respect, I really like, and I would love to have on my channel and do things with, and I'm hope to have some of them on my channel and really ask them more of these questions, and so you guys can get their really, if they're willing to sort of be honest with the community, get their perspectives on Pokemon, get their more full perspectives, and get their perspectives on how they grow their channel and how they be ethical within this community. The one that I haven't talked about, right? The people that I haven't talked about are some of the ones that I really what I really am concerned with are people who are selling direct product to people during a stream when they are also hyping up the cards and using a lot of like the family friend manipulation, telling people like creating a Discord groups where like this Discord group is like for our crew and we can kick people out, and then you make moderators people who have like bought the most from you. And I've seen these things, and it's not just one person. I've seen these things, and these are classic, very classic manipulation techniques to get people to feel like, this person cares about you and is giving you really good advice and is giving you a friend, and they're gonna pepper in good advice because like a lot of what they're gonna say is gonna sound smart and reasonable and caring, and then once they get you hooked with their dopamine techniques of getting you to like them and getting you excited, then they're gonna sell you stuff, and they're the only one you should listen to. These other people don't really understand. Their perspectives aren't good, and if you are buying people are buying tens of thousands of dollars of product right now from these types of people, okay, and they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars probably, or $100,000, right, on all of the upselling of the cards because they're getting them for much cheaper than they're doing to you. And I see people like getting cards graded for people and then upcharging them crazy huge amounts and being dishonest with like how much grading actually costs. Like for everyone to know, like grading costs for PSA. It costs the person who is sending in many cards. It costs them like probably $9 per card. But actually less because they're sending in huge amounts, and they're, it costs $8 a card, and then if you factor in like the insurance or the, shipping costs and that sort of thing, like let's say it's $9 a card. I see people charging like $18 for a card. I see people charging $24 for a card. I see people charging $40 to grade one card, and then they say to you like, well, that card is actually worth more than $100. And the way PSA works is if your card is worth more than $100, like you're supposed to disclaim that it's worth more than $100, and then they charge more for it. So they would charge more than the $8. But I'm guessing that those cards that are between $100 and $200, like graded PSA 10, they're not sent. That isn't how it works. The raw card isn't worth that much. The raw card is worth $20 until it gets graded PSA 10. So I guarantee you guys, for anyone who's watching and falling for this trick, that person is sending it in bulk submission. They're sending it for $8 and they just charge you $40. They just made $32 per card that you sent in, okay? Because they lied to you. All right, and PSA does upcharge sometimes, but it's extremely rare. Okay, I've sent in lots of cards that until they were graded certainly were not worth more than $100, and then they came back at 10, and now they're worth $1,000. Just so everyone understands very, very clearly the scams, and there are so many scams and so many manipulation tactics and techniques that these people use. And I believe it's like kids and lonely people and anxious people who are falling for them and spending their money. And even people who are not like that, it's so addicting to watch people open packs and to have a person talk about like how rich you're going to become in Pokemon and how these cards are going to go forever. Like all of that is very dangerous and very addicting. And that is why I'm afraid of these bubbles or of these implosions, because how much of the market is being propped up by that sort of manic hustle, you know, to summarize here, energy, and using these manipulation tactics from these like more nefarious, you know, YouTubers and scammers, frankly, to get rich off of you. Okay, in the short term. And where is that going to leave your kids who are over leveraging themselves or who are spending money that they could be saving right now and that could mean a lot for them in the future? That being said, like Pokemon, and I need to repeat this because I keep saying this, like Pokemon could be investable and it could go up, but listen to people who are going to give you both sides of the argument and are not directly trying to sell you something as they're doing it. Okay. Let's see if I have anything more for you guys. I know this is such a long video now. Yeah, so, you know, again, to summarize, you know, ask yourself, how much am I actually enjoying this person's content? Am I addicted to the way they're speaking? Are they hyping me up? Are they making me feel like I want to buy when I watch this channel? Are they making me, are they telling me the truth about like what this is, about what they're about, how authentic they are? What type of arguments? Are they giving you like really good arguments for why they believe what they believe, or are they just saying things like very strongly and giving you very like loose arguments? Are the people's followers attacking people with dissenting opinions? Are the people's followers, and this is the cult-like behavior, you know, saying that this is the only person who knows everything about Pokemon? You know, what type of community is that person fostering? On this channel, I want to foster a community where people are disagreeing with me, where people are giving counter opinions, where I respect other people's opinions and people who have different opinions from me. You know, and I think that like the good quality YouTubers that I pointed out, even though they have some, you know, they could do a better job in certain areas. I think that they genuinely do a really good job and they are not being deceitful and they're not trying to manipulate people, and really they've done way more good, way more good for the community than bad. But I do think that they can improve, and I hope that they do over time, and maybe they'll see this one day and think about what I'm saying. Okay, the real issue are some of the smaller channels in particular, and some of the like Instagram hype, so you know, culture, and people directly trying to sell you. Okay, and then trying to, you know, blatantly scam you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on these opinions. Are these things that you think about and feel about? Do you think I'm being overly harsh and critical and on some of these people? Are you more of like a pure sort of like you know, ethics, like are your ethics more like it doesn't really matter, like manipulation is just part of the market, it's always going to be like and people, like, it's perfectly fine for people to try to manipulate you, and it's supposed to be on the buyer to not be manipulated? And I think there's a decent argument can be made for that it's the people getting manipulated who are also really need to learn and become more educated, and it's on them too. You know, but for me, it's sort of like there's a lot of blame and fault to go around, and you know, a lot of this can be remedied just with understanding, you know, human psychology and understanding your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities as a human being, and how other people can use those weaknesses and vulnerabilities to take advantage of you for profit. Okay, so I will have another video for you all again pretty soon, I'm sure, and hope everyone has a good rest of your day. Take care.